so that we can put our people to work. And we do that with business development, job creation, and service. See, I got my cup here this morning. This is good old-fashioned Java coffee. And let me tell you something, I probably need something stronger than this today. Remember last week I was on here talking about the stock market, and I was ready to go out and sell blood to buy some more stocks. Man, what difference a week makes? Man, that stock market was in a free fall since last few days. So it just goes, everything that happens is full of lessons. There's just lessons everywhere. If we would just only be students for a minute and stop pretending we know it all, we'd be a better people. So yes, the stock market did change from last week. So that's why I'm not in the stock market business. That's why I'm a marketing guy. I'm going to stay in my lane. But yeah, I still think stock is a good investment as you diversify your portfolio. Get a few things going. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, as the wellologist said last week. She said her grandma gave her all this great advice. Anyway, welcome to the show. Go to marketingpulpit.com. You can find out more about all of the listening options, about the guests, about who's coming on board today, and who was on last week, and who's going to be on the week after that, and all that good stuff. I'm Robert Gatewood. People sometimes ask me, hey, Gatewood, who died and made you king? Why do you think you know everything? Well, I'll be the first one to tell you that I don't know everything, but I know a lot. I've been out here for a minute. I'm an adjunct professor. I teach marketing at the Prince George's Community College. I have a couple of books out here on marketing, one called Smarter Than Boss, another called Played in Full. I've been a marketing consultant for the past 25 years. I'm the president and CEO of Gatewood Marketing and Web. And let's see what else. I'm also a consultant for the Small Business Administration. So I help companies in the 8A program and the 7J, all that good stuff. So yeah, I've been around the block a couple of times, but like I say, I don't know everything. I'm still learning like the rest of you, but we learn from each other. I want to thank everybody for tuning in on Facebook, on YouTube TV, on Twitter, on Instagram, let's see, Periscope TV, Twitter TV, and good morning to everybody who has kept this show going for the past 10 years. That's right, 10 years. I'm going to drink to that. Yes, this is coffee, so don't be getting it twisted over there. Say good morning to Attorney Bradley Thomas. He said he's on time for class this week, and glad to see Attorney Thomas tuning in every week on the show. Also see Brother Gerald Brown. Good to see you this morning, Brother Brown. He's one of our regular viewers. He has a plumbing service, Eternity Plumbing. And man, people always asking me, do I know a good plumber? I am so glad I know Brother Brown now. So if anybody needs any plumbing, he's the guy. Now we're working on some of his marketing and his website and his logos. So we got some things going on. Also, Brother Thomas, Bradley Thomas, great attorney. He's an intellectual property and entertainment attorney. I'm getting attorney and eternity mixed up. So he's the guy you want to talk to if you got a song in your head you've been carrying around. You want to know how to get it out there and how to protect it. Trademark, patents, all that good stuff. So another one of my clients as well. Go to Bradley Thomas. You want to say, look, Gatewood is only people that clients of yours listening. Well, I would say by a long shot, no. We have people listening all over the world, from the continent of Africa, from Canada, from Mexico, from the East Coast, the West Coast. Matter of fact, one of our guests coming in today is going to be from the state of Texas. So we have guests, we have listeners, we have people tuning in from all over the world. We're also affiliated with the Minor Football League, where we're about to launch a league over in the continent of Africa. We're going to put 16 teams over in Africa. And so we got a lot of things going on. That's why we are Marketing Pulpit International, and I'm proud of it. Now, we talked about stock market and what was happening yesterday, and why this thing is why you got to know what you're doing. You just can't jump out here and listen to somebody like me. You need to find out, do your homework and your research. So there are some warning signs on Wall Street right now. The NASDAQ has had its worst sell-off since March, which was during the pandemic. Well, at least the height of the pandemic, because the pandemic is still with us. That move wiped out about $44 billion from the world's richest people, including $9 billion from Jeff Bezos. Now, most of us, when we lose $9 billion, we're about ready to find the closest bridge to jump off. Well, Jeff Bezos, that's probably like running around money. But that's a lot of money. So things of the stock market, the job market, everything right now is still in a flux. So don't get too high when things are great, and definitely don't get too low when things are going a little sour. Like right now, a lot of people are still suffering. The job markets is down. We were 8.4% unemployment. That's the first time it's been under 10% in quite a while, so that's good news. But still, it's not where we need for it to be. There's a lot of work to do there. A lot of people are still out of work. A lot of people are still suffering. And to people who have the means and the ability to hire people, to support people in the community, let's do that all the time. Let's never let up on that. I see my good cousin, J. Ellis Ratliff out of Durham, North Carolina. Glad to see you this morning, brother. Brother Ratliff, one of my cousins, my daddy's sister's boy, as we say down south. He's nobody's boy, but that's what we call each other. Glad to see you, brother, from down in North Carolina. You have a big contingent of people down in North Carolina. Matter of fact, that's where I'm from. I'm the son of a sharecropper. That's right. These hands have picked cotton. These hands need a manicure too. You never look at your hands enough nowadays. You know that? Hey, I'm going to blame on the pandemic. Okay, shoot. I'm blaming everything on the pandemic. Everything that's wrong in the world is due to the pandemic. Now, my guest coming up later on might disagree with that. We're going to have Dr. Sharon Empowers coming on a little later on. She's going to help us navigate some of these waters. You can't blame everything on the pandemic. Now, you still got to get up and go to work. You still got to take a shower and comb your hair. I even combed my hair this morning. Man, my hairline used to be right here. What's going on? Anyway, also coming up later on the show, we're going to have Mr. Bryon Jennings. He's going to give us an inside look on SEO, search engine optimization. Everybody's so head over heels over Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. They forgot about the other big online marketing tool, which is search engine optimization. So we're going to bring Mr. Jennings on to talk about that a little later in the show. And guess what I'm going to talk about? Why most advertising doesn't work. All right, marinate on that for a minute. Some of you folks out here are advertising, you just throwing it out there. Like the old saying, you throw it against the wall and see what sticks. That might be a good quote, but it's a horrible advertising strategy. So later in the show, I'm going to tell you, because I like to work in code. If one of the things I was going to be, of the 100 things I was going to be an engineer. I was going to go to A&T University. Had got my little application filled in. Then this college, Livingstone College, comes along and give me a full music scholarship. So I did a pivot there. Then I was going to go to Syracuse Law School. Then I pivoted again. So what I'm going to talk about is how, when you're about to do this advertising, it's about code. I get on this code topic. If anybody's ever done any engineering or programming, there are certain things that are foundational that don't change regardless of the environment or what's going on. And there are certain marketing and advertising foundations that I'm going to talk about as to why your advertising, in spite of all your good efforts, it just plain might not work. So that's coming up later in the show as well. So as you can see, we have a lot going on today. Some other things that are happening in the news, like to keep you abreast of what's going on. The virus is changing corporate culture. Well, that should be a surprise to nobody. Also, now this is an interesting story. Also, by the way, some certain things that we've become accustomed to that might not be, that might change over the years. Let's see, Dr. Sharon Anderson Empowers coming up. She's a consulting, risk management, strategic planning, brand development, and grant writing specialist. Man, that's a mouthful. So she's going to be coming up in a minute. But think about some of these things that are changing as the world evolves in front of us. I know it's probably not the first thing on most people's list, but what about that bald Santa Claus? And I got a feeling that's going to be on the one of the first things to go coming up in the winter. Sitting on some fat guy's lap with pandemic out here, and I'm sure Santa Claus is not too happy about that either. He doesn't want all these German kids on his lap either. So there's just certain little things that are happening in the world that we're not gonna. It's not going to be the same going forward. Another piece of news is that Elon Musk is now the third richest person in the world. Well, we had that stock split last week where they did a 5-1 stock split. So if you own 5 shares of, if you own 1 share of Tesla stock, and then they did a 5-to-1 split, that went down to $200 a share, but you had 5 shares. So Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Robert Gatewood is on the list. That's because I just wrote him in there, not because I'm the third richest people. Now, here's an interesting story, too. The Ronald McDonald, the clown, he's been sued by 50 former McDonald's franchise owners. Come on, McDonald's, too? Come on, Ronald McDonald, you got to do better than that. They claim that the company pushed them towards locations in low-income areas. Now, as a franchise consultant myself, I know you're saying, God, what else is that you don't do? Hey, look, I call myself a universal man, so I have to dip my toe in many waters. So that means these franchise owners are saying that McDonald's pushed them into these areas where there was low income, high security. That means the insurance is going to be higher and less money. So they're suing McDonald's. And like I was saying, as a franchise consultant, when you're trying to place a franchise, one of the biggest challenges is putting that franchise in a location where it can be profitable. Because many of you guys are going to be probably doing a franchise at some point. And hey, good morning, Kenny Jones. Thanks for joining me this morning. Some of you guys are going to be doing a franchise at some point. And you think you just go up there and drop down your money, and this great franchise consultant, and there are some good ones out here. I happen to be one myself. As a matter of fact, we're going to have Miss Nancy Green's going to come on the show in a few weeks. She's going to be talking more about franchise consulting. But just like in real estate and like anything, there are variables, there are degrees of greatness and preference. And location, when we talk about the 4 P's of marketing, one of those P's is location, but it's actually place. I know you're saying to yourself, how is a location a P? Well, it's place. Price, promotion, place, product. So these McDonald's franchisees are saying, you put us in bad locations. And they're suing. All right, let's see. What else we got? So, the moral of that story is, if you decide to buy a franchise, talk to somebody who has your best interest at heart. Don't just call somebody out of the yellow pages or go online and Google. Call me or call somebody else in the industry and let them guide you through this process. Buying a franchise is not like going out buying a car. We're talking about generational wealth building, and you want to make sure, like these black franchisee owners of McDonald's, they thought everything was equal. Hey, I'm buying a McDonald's, life is good. Well, as we're finding out now, some people are getting a better deal than others, and these owners feel like they were being steered into low-income areas. Walmart is about to challenge Amazon in its membership. I know you guys love your Amazon Prime, don't you? You know what? I fought that thing for a long time. I'm saying I'm not paying Amazon or anybody else 12, 13, however many dollars a month on the likelihood that I might order something from them. I mean, they already get my money. But then one day I messed around and bought something for somebody for the birthday. And I bought something for myself. As a matter of fact, I bought a little golf putt thing for my office. Went on Amazon. Man, let me tell you something. There's something great about not having to pay that delivery fee. So yeah. Well, anyway, make a long story short, Walmart is about to jump into the game, and they're going to roll out their own membership service to challenge Amazon. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to bring up my guest. Matter of fact, I'm going to bring in one of my guests here, Dr. Sharon Empowers. Make sure I get her name right, because she got a lot of alphabets and descriptions behind her name. Um, Dr. Sharon Anderson Empowers. She is the CEO of KCG Consulting, Risk Management, Strategic Planning, and Brand Development, and Grant Writing and Capital Development. Now, you're talking about somebody who's busy. I thought I was busy. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to bring up my guest. We're going to talk a little bit more about what's going on, get her perspective on some of this stuff they like to talk about. You're listening to the Marketing Pulpit TV show. We are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. We bring you the good marketing gospel. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in all over the world. Don't go anywhere. Support our sponsors. And we'll be right back after the break. And I love some good music. That group, 98.6 band, they have a very interesting story. They were around the era of the Earth, Wind, and Fire groups, the Jazz Band, and Kool and the Gang, and they were every bit as talented, if not more so. And they ran into some intellectual property issues, and because of that, they had to shelve their music for 40 years. And so they have relaunched, they reemerged, and now their CDs available now. And you got to really get the CD to get that story. And they're also sponsors of the show. So I'd like to thank my good friend, attorney Bradley Thomas, and all the guys from the 98.6 band. Go to np6.band and find out more about them and get that music. And I'm telling you, I listen to that CD all the time. They are better than those groups that I used to listen to when I was coming up. Also, our good sponsor, BLE Executive Suites, Miss Bernadette Clay. What I like about them, this is a family-owned business. BLE stands for Bernadette, Langston, and Eddie. There's a mother and her two sons. They own 3 locations, one over National Harbor, the one over here in College Park, Hub Zone, and Largo Park Center. And that's where my office is located. And you're talking about the epitome, the embodiment, the personification of everything that I preach about. We can see it in the BLE Executive Suites. And what's happening in the last couple of weeks, as school has reopened, some of the teachers, some of the students, some of the tutors, they're looking for a safe place to spread out so they can learn. In some of these homes, you have the father, the mother, and the student all trying to share internet space, trying to share office space, trying to share just living room, and they're really cramping each other. So what BLE has done, they've created these safe spaces so that people can rent out their space to learn. I think it's a great idea. Go to blesuites.com and find out more about what they're doing. So if you are a tutor, if you are a teacher, if you're a student, you need some extra space to spread those wings to learn, go to blesuites.com. Tell them tell them Gatewood at the Marketing Pulpit sent you, and they're going to give you a free month of whatever service you decide to get. That's from the Marketing Pulpit. Let me bring in Dr. Sharon here. I'm gonna pick her brain. This lady got a lot of knowledge in there. Daggone it. I want some of it. Hey, folks, let me bring my guest in. Hold 1 second, lady. All right, we're back. We're back. Had a power outage here quickly. Sorry about that. We are back on the air. Thank you for hanging in there. Man, technology is always something. It is always something going on. Man, daggone it. Anyway, let me, as I was saying, I was about to bring on my special guest, Dr. Sharon Anderson. Let me try this again. There she is.
There you go. There you go.
Hey, welcome to the show,
Good
Dr.
morning.
Sharon.
Good morning. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. I'm happy
Good.
and honored to have you to join us on the
Thank
Marketing
you.
Pulpit TV show this morning. Why don't you do this before we get started? Let the world know. And when I say the world, we are being broadcast all over the world. Let the world know who this doctor is, this amazing Dr. Sharon Anderson and Powers is. Just give us a quick introduction to the audience, please.
Great, great. Well, thank you for having me again. I am Reverend Dr. actually Sharon Anderson, and I am the CEO of KCG Consulting Services. I am an attorney by trade, but have pivoted my work recently during this pandemic to launch my business, which is KCG Consulting Services. And so KCG provides risk management services, it provides grant writing services, proposal development, capital development, and business management services for primarily small businesses, but also nonprofits. I do a lot because I am an executive pastor also with churches.
I'm gonna drink to that, and this is coffee. Now this is they be drinking in front of the good reverend. This is coffee.
Yeah. And not at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Definitely not at 11 o'clock in the morning. Well, you wear more hats than I even. So you're an attorney, a pastor, and good, my goodness. Woo,
Yes. God is
you
good.
are a
God
powerful
is good.
sister.
God is
Hey, you
good.
look. I'm gonna tell you what. Before I jump into you, I was going through the news here for a second ago, and one story I didn't get to, which I want to since I have you on here. And one of the stories was there is a jarring gender confidence gap which means as this pandemic continues to linger around and to wreak havoc on many lives, there is a confidence gap between how men and women are dealing with it.
Hmm.
Men tend to be about 25% more confident that things are going to be okay
Mm-hmm.
than women.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, part of the reason, of course, is that 70% of many of the jobs that are most impacted by this pandemic tend to be women occupied. But what's your take on that? Just give me your take on that, please.
I can understand the statistics. I wouldn't say I necessarily agree with it,
Okay.
but I understand the statistics. I think that, like you said, most of the jobs that are impacted are jobs that are occupied by women. So, in addition to them worrying about job security, they're also usually the primary caretaker. And unfortunately, in our society, we do have a lot of single women led households. And so they're having to care for the children, virtual learning. A lot of the women have to leave their jobs because they have to take care of the children and school the children. I mean, if you have a young child, that's impacted my family. My granddaughter's mother had to transition out of work because she had to be there. My granddaughter's 5, starting kindergarten. So who's going to watch the child, my granddaughter, as she's getting ready to start kindergarten and having to do that virtually. So the insecurity is about how am I going to balance all of this? And women have always traditionally had to balance in the family more than men. And so that's what I think is leading to the insecurity.
And I think it's unfortunate that women have to carry that extra burden. But that's society, and that's been one of the lingering injustices that we've had to deal with as a society. And I think
Absolutely.
it needs to be corrected. And when I read that, it caught my attention because I am also, besides the many other hats that I wear, I'm also have been very supportive of women's movement and equal pay for women. And so when I read these kind of stories, it just tells me how much more work we have to do. Uh,
Absolutely.
and that women are feeling this pain. They're feeling the brunt of the pain. And it's not, and
Absolutely.
that's not correct. That's not good.
Absolutely. But one of the things I would say, and I'm living it personally, is I heard someone say during this pandemic, where there's a crisis, there's an opportunity. And so, if there are any women listening, even though that is a statistic, you don't have to be that statistic. So, where can you pivot, empower, make yourself relevant in this season? So I gave you the example of my granddaughter's mother, but she does makeup. She learned how to do eyelashes. She sells jewelry. So she now is an entrepreneur and is still generating income, even though she's now home with my granddaughter. So I just would speak to every woman out there. If there's something in your heart and your spirit that you wanted to do and you couldn't do it before because you were in a 9 to 5, God is giving you this opportunity to begin to look at a different way of handling the business and the dream that God has given you. And that's actually what KCG Consulting does. It helps people follow their passions and find their dreams. And then if indeed you want to follow it, capitalize it, find the funding for it. And so it's really an exciting time. You can look at it, right? Half glass full, half glass empty. Certainly lots going on with the pandemic, a lot of social justice issues, but if now's the time that we're locked in with ourselves to really look at what we are meant to do in this world.
Well, let me ask you this. What are some of as you see it, some of the challenges? We know there are many, but if as a consultant and sound like you have your hand in quite a few pots, what are some of the challenges that you're seeing that businesses particularly are enduring during this pandemic?
Clearly financing, and that's an issue, right? So again, because if you're in the restaurant business, if you're in a customer service business and you've been closed, then that's a big issue. And unfortunately, the PPP process has not always been favorable to the smaller businesses, not always been favorable to the minority businesses. And I've done a lot of PPP applications and I've been very, very successful. But compared to what we hear about, in the news, and these big companies getting millions of dollars. Traditionally, smaller businesses are really not getting enough to sustain them. It might keep them afloat for 2 or 3 months, but it's not sustaining them. So the capitalization is an issue for certainly the customer service industry and most small businesses right now. That probably is the biggest challenge. And then with that, maintaining a workforce. So if you have no money, then you have no workforce. And so when you do reopen, who's coming back? How long can you keep them? Can you sustain what you have? So even that whole strategic planning process is so important. And that's, again, one of the things that KCG has been doing is the strategic planning. You got to shift now, right? This has caused you to shift. So you can't, everybody says we want to get back to normal. There will never be a normal as we once knew it. Right? There is a new norm. And if you're not thinking about how your business is adjusting to this new norm, then your business will not sustain itself. So even with the risk management planning that KCG is doing, reopening plans, for those who don't like the word risk management, you have to think past the PPE, right? Everybody thinks if I get enough PPE, gloves, sanitizing equipment, and Clorox, I'm going to be okay. No, it's way more than that. So those are the biggest challenges: capitalization, lack of planning, and workforce analysis.
Well, let me ask you this: is PPP done? We've seen the deadlines come and go, and everybody now is going to the EIDL. Give us the update on that?
The scanning. So EIDL is open until the end of the year, unless it runs out, and I don't believe it's running out. So
explain what the EIDL is to people.
So that's the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program through the SBA, and it's a fairly streamlined application. I certainly do suggest that you get some help doing it, but if you're savvy financially, you can do it yourself. KCG does it if you need help. But it is an application where you, based upon your income and the industry that you work in, you are able to get a certain percentage of that. And it is a loan. It's a very low percentage loan. And that's absolutely wonderful because it's either 2% or 3% on the dollar. And I don't think you'll ever see rates that low. So you might have $300,000 at 2% and you have 30 years to pay it. So your note might be $100 a month. So I encourage every business owner. There's really no business loan owner out there that should not apply for an EIDL. I would say this, however, and a lot of people don't know this, your credit score has to be a minimal of 570. So if your credit is not a 570, then don't apply. Get your credit adjusted so that you can apply before the money runs out in December. So it's just a low interest loan.
Mm-hmm. You just said something that I've heard different people question. Mm-hmm. That if you don't need the money, or if that's more debt, they probably shouldn't do it. I mean, what's your take on that?
I don't agree. I don't agree. You'll never see money that low again. I say you apply, you get an offer, you read the terms. And once you read the terms, if you feel that it's something that's favorable for you, you take it. If not, you don't have to take it. But apply and see if it works for you. I had a couple of clients like that early on. They didn't apply when it was first available, and then it got hard, and then they applied. And then, of course, there's a waiting period, and then they were really stuck. And had they applied earlier, they wouldn't have gotten stuck. So and we've heard that this is going to hit again, right? We've heard that come, I think October, November, the COVID rates are going to go up again. And so we don't know if we will end up closing or reverting back to phase 1 or 2 of our process of reopening. And so it's better to have the funding available and sitting and available to you than to wait until you run out. That's planning, right?
Well, my position was, without all the data that you have at your disposal, was that we don't know where this pandemic is going to go or how long it's going to be around. You may be cash flush today.
That's right.
But do you have a crystal ball and where you're going to be 6 months to a year from now?
That's right.
I'd rather have it and give it back if I don't need it than to need it and can't get it because now the waiting list is going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And most small businesses aren't cash flush, right? Just to be honest, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking about Elon Musk, right? We're not talking about Tyler Perry, who just became a billionaire. We're talking about small businesses, right? Who've been closed. You're not cash flush. You know, you might have enough to get yourself along, but most are not. So it's better to
That's
have
another good point.
it.
Most small businesses aren't used to sitting on money like
Mhm.
other companies are. So we get a little money in the bank and we think we're good.
That's
But
right.
that's normal for other companies.
That's right. That's right.
So
Yeah.
that's very good. I'm glad to hear that. Now let me ask you this. Here's a question. What happens if something happens to that business owner who got that loan? Let's say they go out of business, they die. What happens to that loan?
So the business, it would depend a lot on the business, what your insurance, again, what your plan says. But in the terms of the EIDL, it's for the business, it's for payroll. This is another good important point. It's for payroll, it's for utilities, it's for rent. And it's for business operations. You can't go out and get your hair done with the EIDL money. And so if someone comes in and inherits the business because of the type of business it is, then as long as it continues to be utilized for the business and it's in a business account, it would be fine. Now, and if your bank account does not have a beneficiary and there's no signer on the account other than the person who is not available to the business anymore, then it would have to go back to the SBA.
All right. Well, I'm sure there are a lot of people.
And then that loan, it's a real complicated question because it's the state's question as well as a business question, right? So if it is an LLC, then of course it's going to go with the member. If the member passes, then whoever the family is would have to deal with how to transition that money back. If it's an Inc., then it's with the corporation. So then if a new director of the corporation comes in, it just still continues to flow because it's an Inc. and it's not attendant to an individual.
And that's why people need to talk to somebody like you.
Absolutely.
Because you can't, some of these things are so complex.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't tackle it on a 10-minute radio interview. But that's why I always encourage my listeners to get the help you need. Mm-hmm. Get the help you need. Don't be afraid to call an expert and stop trying to figure out these complicated matters yourself. You end up hurting yourself sometimes, not just today, but the rest of the time you're in business. In some cases, the rest of the time you're on this earth.
That's right.
That's why I'm glad to have people like Attorney Bradley Thomas and other people who have been big supporters of this show. And I will always say, let's go to our experts when we have these complicated issues. And yeah, you may have to drop a couple of coins here and there, but you may be saving yourself a lifetime of hurt. So
that's the key. I mean, a lot of times small businesses, I hear it all the time. Well, I don't have that. And I try to scale my fees based on the size of the business. But I hear that all the time. I don't have that. I can't invest that. But, the old adage that we heard people say, it takes money to make money. And in this season, you have to invest in yourself. And one of those things is investing in getting the knowledge to be able to continue to sustain yourself.
You brought up that saying, that adage about it takes money to make money. And one thing I've discovered during this pandemic, and I'm a business consultant, mm-hmm. is that many people who have money now, they have more money than they've had in the existence of their company because mm-hmm. of the PPP and the EIDL. Mm-hmm. And what it has done, it has spawned almost a sector of the economy of people that have confidence that never had it before. Mm-hmm. And when you are confident as a business owner, you make more sage decisions. You're more wise and long-term thinker than when you're living from month to month, week to week. And so some people are making decisions now, not just because of the money itself, but because of the confidence it engenders. That's something else that has been anathema, that has been foreign to many small companies, mm-hmm. and they're seeing really for the first time. Would you agree?
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm an example of it in some ways mm-hmm. because my business just kind of blew up in the pandemic. And I'm actually writing a book that will be out in October. And I've created a concept and actually have a day that's recognized by the National Archives emotional civility day, which is a little different from emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is how you process your emotions in your mind. Emotional civility, which is what I'm referring to in my book, is how you act on your emotions. And we know in this society right now, we see it every day, civility is just a lost art, right? But there's a section in my book that talks about business decision making based upon emotions. And that emotion could be grief. That emotion could be, like you said, that lack of confidence. You're constantly burdened by running paycheck to paycheck. Am I going to be able to make payroll? Because if I don't make payroll, they're going to leave or they're going to sue me. And so you're making decisions based upon your emotion. And sometimes that's a negative emotion, and that's not a good thing. And so when you do, and I think any business owner has been guilty of that, right? And it's part of that process. Yeah, so the process. So being financially stable, you're absolutely right, gives you a level of confidence, so that you're not just focusing on the money. You're focusing on the strategy that will get you the money. And when you don't have that money, then it's you're chasing it. It's like you're living paycheck.
Well, I'm
paycheck. You
as
have
you
to worry
said,
about your mortgage, paying for your kids, and then pivot to everything about the business. And it can be very, very stressful. And bad decisions can be born out of that if you don't have someone to talk to. So that's why I also add business strategy and consulting to what I do, because it's important to have someone that can give you that direction when you're down, not just when you're up.
Yeah, here. Dr. Anderson, we have a question for you coming out of Durham, North Carolina. Jay
Yes.
Ellis asked, what will be the new normal in churches, in your opinion?
Oh, good. Oh, that's a great thing. I have a lot of churches that are my clients, and the new normal is going to be certainly social distancing, certainly wearing masks. I am definitely encouraging all churches and pastors, please have a plan. Please have a plan in writing. But there will be there won't be choirs. You won't see large choirs for a while, just praise teams. If not just soloists and psalmists. You'll see shorter services. Black church, we're in there 3, 4, 5, 10 hours. You'll see short services.
At least some good will come out of the
pandemic. Shame on you.
Don't correct me. I'm sorry.
Shorter services for sure.
Okay.
But please, any pastor, any church trustee listening, it has to be in writing. You have to train. Please train your leaders before they come back in. If you have not done that, get a plan and train your leaders. If you're not open yet, do a reopening plan. Take temperatures, do waivers, make sure your volunteers have waivers, because we live in a litigious society, and it is not just if someone's going to come in the congregation with COVID, it is when someone comes in, and then what are you going to do when they report it? In the area that I'm in, they are launching an ambassadors program. And you think that sounds good, right? Well, no, what they're going to do is start going by churches and salons and small businesses to see if you're in compliance. And if not, they're going to fine you or close you. And if you have a plan, when that ambassador or inspector, wherever you are, walks through the door, you go right to the office, you show them your plan, you talk to them about what you're doing, they'll walk right out. But if you don't have a plan and they come in and they can just walk in and no one takes their temperature and they don't see masks and they don't see signage and they don't see any of that, then you could get shut down, and then you won't have the opportunity to control when you open. And that's my big thing about churches. We've been closed for so long. Don't lose the control of when you can and remain open. Once you open, you want to remain open and sustain. And the only way that you're going to do that is if you have a plan.
Plan is so pivotal in so many areas of society, and this is no exemption. This is right up there with everything else. Planning.
Yes.
We do have Kenny Jones said, "Good points, Dr. Anderson." He said, "Definitely Sunday morning will be different." And as we said, some things for the better. Hey, I know. Look, before you beat up on me, my dad was a Baptist minister. He was in the same church for 51 years. As a matter of fact, that's how I got the name Marketing Pulpit.
Amen.
Everybody asked me, "How am I going to be a minister? Am I going to be a preacher?" I said, "Well, look, I'm a minister. I'm a minister of a different. I'm a
Yes.
minister of marketing." So
Minister of the marketplace. Amen.
that's right.
And we need more of that, right? Because I mean, that's why I do what I do. I'm an executive pastor. I do work at my church, but I'm a Christian business owner. That applies Christian business principles in the marketplace. And we as saved Christians need to go out into, that's what God said, right? That's what Jesus said, go ye therefore into the world. He didn't tell us to stay in the church and do everything. He told us to go out and begin to make an impact. So we as Christian business owners, as advisors, need to go out and make sure that we give knowledge that is based on the Bible. I'll say this to that listener, Nehemiah, I also teach theology, and it says intersect the course that I teach is ecclesiastical law and theology because of my background. And I use the book of Nehemiah as a principle for my churches with risk management. Remember, Nehemiah, read chapter 4. Before he started building the wall, he talked to God in prayer and got directions about whether he should do it. Then he went to the king and he got a passport from the king to be able to go to get the materials that he needed, and a passport to be able to pass through, and a letter to be able to get what he needed. And then he came back and then he positioned, because he knew it was going to be warfare. See, we can't forget that there's going to be warfare with anything that we do if we're doing it for God. And so he positioned people on the wall, one with a tool in his hand and one with a weapon, to make sure that he was able to accomplish what he needed to accomplish. So we're right now warring against the pandemic, right? And so when we open our churches, we have to do what Nehemiah did. He prayed about it, he consulted the king, and he had a strategy. God gave him a strategy about how to protect what God had given him. So whether you're a church, whether you're a business, you have to have a strategy about what God has given you to protect it. Without it, when the enemy comes, whether it's COVID, whether it's a financial enemy, whatever it is, you need to be able to be ready to answer for that attack.
I'll tell you what, Doctor, hold on a second. I'm going to take a quick break. I'd like you to hang around and we're going to talk about, because I know I want to pick your brain some more. I mean, when I get such a talent like you on the show, I got to milk it for all it's worth. So I want you to join me on my segment on why most advertising doesn't work. And some of this is right up your alley. So I'd just like to get another set of eyes on this topic. Folks, you're listening to and watching the Marketing Pulpit TV and radio show. We are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. We have our special guest, Dr. Sharon Anderson, Empowers. And don't go anywhere. We're going to talk about if you are a business owner, and this is a business development show, even though we are holistic in our approach, we attack wellness and finance and law and many other topics that's going to impact the success of your business. But today we're going to talk about specifically advertising. I'm not going to get all into the different ways of advertising. I'm going to talk to you about why your advertising that you're spending this PPP, EIDL money and so forth might not work. So you want to stay tuned. Marketing Pulpit, Robert Gatewood. I'm going to be right back with my special guest. Don't you go anywhere, and we will be back. In
You're breaking up a little bit. You're breaking up a little bit.
Testing.
Weekend, including exam.
Testing.
Hello, hello.
You're live.
Oh, Dr. Anderson there. How are you?
Here I am. Good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing excellent.
Good.
Excellent.
Good.
Yeah. So
Glad you could make it in. See, look how God does that, right?
right. You know, he has a plan, right?
That's right.
He's the one to make a way. So
Yes.
I guess you know, with our host, you know, there was kind of some technical difficulties and whatnot, but you know, the goal, I guess, hello everybody that's watching live. I guess we have some more guests with us. So what we'll do for the time, you know, I guess if you're watching, everyone there, please stay tuned with us. You know, we're gonna chat with each other. You know, I'm gonna learn about you. You know, we'll talk as well.
Yes.
You know, because you know, I was brought in to talk about marketing and Black-owned businesses, and really to not market on social media is kind of the talk I was having. You know, we're planning to have, which is, you know, in order for us to get ahead and exceed, we're going to have to reach platforms that are going to allow us to grow our revenue, and those aren't social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram. You know, Tumblr and Twitter and things like that. Those aren't the platforms we need to be using to get ourselves ahead. But you know, I'm glad to meet you, and you know, I definitely wanted to jump in and start chatting with you and learn all about you. You know, I hear you
Fantastic.
have a lot of hats that you wear, so I want to hear about all that. So let's start from the top. Where do you want to start?
All right. So we did a little bit of it, but I think we might have some new viewers. So I'd be more than happy to reintroduce myself. I am Reverend Dr. Sharon Anderson. I am the CEO of KCG Consulting Services, and my business provides business strategy, business management, strategic planning, risk management services, as well as capital funding and grant writing services for small businesses, nonprofits, churches. Those are my main clientele. We didn't really get a chance to talk about this at the last segment, but I've also been doing some diversity and inclusion training for businesses, for small businesses, because obviously with everything going on, that's a big issue. So I kind of have a do it all for small businesses.
Definitely sounds like it. You're really across the board.
Yeah.
So it seems like you're helping businesses from the very beginning, inception, and then also helping them implement some growth strategies. And so that's awesome as well. And it sounds like we do have a lot of natural overlap. You know, there. So I guess maybe first thing. So you're on the spiritual side as well. So you're counseling as well.
I do that as well.
It sounds like
That's not my day job, though. That's not my day job. But you know, I think God has allowed me, because of the various jobs that I've had, just combine all that in my consulting services, and so a lot of it's not mutually exclusive. Usually, and I like the way you say it, I do deal a lot with starting businesses from the ground up. And I really enjoy that work because I help frame a dream and a passion. And I really enjoy that work. I do work with businesses that are trying to pivot. And that's really how KCG blew up during the pandemic, because businesses have had to make adjustments and maybe repurpose themselves to make sure that they remain relevant during this time, and come up with strategies to deal with money, make money, as you said, brand and market. But because I actually have a doctorate in pastoral counseling, so you know.
Okay, awesome.
I have a JD, I have a DD, I have a DMin. So I do wear a lot of hats, but so counseling's not my day job, but quite often, you know, business owners, because of what they're going through, just even in this season, are looking for that. And that's how people started coming to me for the diversity and inclusion training, because I'm writing a book on emotional intelligence, and a lot of that intersects with that diversity and inclusion space. And for any businesses that are listening, if you have not done that, now with everything that's going on, you need to do that. Your minority customers, your minority staff, they are suffering,
Okay.
and they're affected. And so it is going to help you grow if you take the time to make sure that they're okay. And that can't be done by the CEO. It has to be done by someone outside.
Okay, so let's jump into that, since that's one of the last things you spoke out as well. So a little bit of my background. I didn't have a business background, a science background. I have
Oh,
a
wow.
research background, and then I moved into business later. And I noticed when I was doing research, some of the people that I work with that were doing experiments and projects, laboratory projects, they ask different questions. So with some more of my Caucasian counterparts, they were more driven by the data. Excuse me, they were more driven by the data and the result. We want to find the result. And some of my colleagues would also ask, well, what is the purpose of the data? So there's two different perspectives. Some can be data driven, but then some people can look at the overall picture. So let me ask you, what is your opinion of diversity in the workplace? What does it add to the business from a revenue perspective, and then also from an ecosystem perspective? What does adding diversity do for a business?
Sure. So that's a wonderful question. So from a data perspective, what we find and what I found in the studies that I've either reviewed or that I've conducted prior to actually coming in to do the work is that implicit biases and microaggression exist. And so there is a large percentage of that in any environment within which you work. And so knowing what it is and actually analyzing that data, whether it's people analyzing it personally or whether it is the company analyzing it from a macro level, if they have that data, then they can frame a program to address whatever the data says. And so that is definitely the level of it. Then you're just putting something that's cookie cutter in place. And I am so against cookie cutter anything.
Absolutely.
We believe you should have a cookie cutter risk management plan, and you shouldn't have a cookie cutter diversity and inclusion plan. You really should tailor whatever training you're doing to the data. And so the data, the analysis of what is actually going on is critical to a successful plan, because if you address your diversity and inclusion issues with your staff, then you'll have happier staff. And if you have happier staff, you'll have happier customers and then more customers. So that's how it's connecting to revenue, right? You won't have as much turnover as it relates to your employees, because your workplace is a workplace that is welcoming and including. And all of that connects to the final outcome, which is I want to make sure that my customers are happy. But you can't have happy customers if the people that are dealing with your customers are not happy. So, and what I think people are ignoring, well, I shouldn't say that, but some business owners maybe ignoring is the fact that, the pandemic in itself is a lot. And just having, we're all on Zoom, we're all working harder. If we can be on all the time if we allow ourselves. So we have that on our backs, and then if we have African American and minority employees or staff or colleagues working with us, what we see every day on the TV with Black people getting shot and killed is a lot to handle, and is ignored and not addressed. That's almost worse than addressing it and addressing it not well.
Right.
And that's the connection that I see. It's always connected to the bottom line, which is what are you going to produce? Can you produce it? And if you don't address it, then your production level, whatever that is, at the end is going to be effective.
Okay, so let me ask you, why do you think that we make up 13% of the population, but then if you also look at corporate executives, why do you think that we do not have some of the representation or as much representation? When you look at the news or you look at your Facebook feed, you say first Black executive for Amazon, first Black executive for, Joe Blow Company, Target or Walmart or so were just not prevalent in that upper echelon
Right.
of leadership. So is that because of more of implicit bias that maybe we are just not seen as capable, or is it that some people prefer to work with people that look like them? What do you think?
I think it's both. I think it's both.
Mhm.
I think that racism exists in
Yeah.
America, in the world, but definitely in America. And so there is a different standard that's applied. There is a different
Absolutely.
standard applied. I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a brief story. It's a real funny story. It's not that funny, but I was recently doing a training, university training. And so we're doing it virtually. And usually I do it in 2 long sessions, right? So we're in person. Nobody gets a lot of time to think about the questions. And that's the whole purpose of test, about bias. You don't get a chance to think about whether you're biased. Your first spontaneous response is what you it really reveals what's in your heart. And so I sent it out on a Sunday night. The perception was, and the training was for Tuesday, the perception was that I wasn't prepared because I gave it out on a Sunday evening, just 48 hours before, as opposed to maybe a week before the training. To me, that's implicit bias, because if I was a white man, they never would have thought that I was not prepared. And so I had to address, I addressed it. It wasn't about me, because of course I really was going to give them 24 hours. I was being nice. And of course, when you're doing it virtually, you can't do a whole test because that takes up all of the time of the class. So those things exist, and it's pervasive. It's pervasive, and they don't even understand that they're doing it.
Right. So that brings up a couple of things in my mind there. I was on LinkedIn, and I heard someone give some commentary and say, "Oh, well, you shouldn't feel bad because you built this organization that is massive and you didn't do any initiative to bring in any diversity or inclusion. Oh, you shouldn't feel bad. You hired the best person for the job." And I stayed up and I said, man, I'm going to write this person and let them know that that's not okay to say that. But basically, some guy, it's a white male organization, white male leadership, no women, no people of color. And you say, oh no, you shouldn't feel bad. It was by chance. You just hired the best talent. You shouldn't feel bad at all. If one person was telling another person, you shouldn't feel bad. And you absolutely should on the other end. It's just because the metrics are different, and that narrative needs to get out there a lot more. I say, I got this from Paul Mooney, the complexion for the connection for the protection, right? So when we don't have those things, we pretty much have a steeper hill to climb up, in the corporate world. And that's one reason that even for myself, when I started my company, which I guess for everyone out there, it's called Next Generation Payroll. So we do payroll, HR solutions. We do risk management. We brought on a lawyer to speak with our clients about risk, but then also the marketing piece is corporate growth strategies, how to grow like a corporation. But just so we didn't throw it out there, Mr. Gatewood, if you're in the background there, if you could put Dr. Anderson's business up, with the StreamYard, Next Generation Payroll. If you get a second, put that up, so we can have that recognition. But back to what we were saying, is that we really have systemic oppression, and one of the ways in which we have to deal with this also, publicly we're protesting, but also private or in a corporate setting, it actually is going unaddressed.
It is.
And it's spreading rampant.
It is. And then the other thing that I think we need to do, we have to talk to our children. My parents grew up in Harlem, and so they were very woke back in their days about the struggle that we that I would have, that my brother and I would have. And my mother went to Howard, my father went to City College, and then I went to Tufts University, which is a predominantly white institution, very good institution, but white institution. And so definitely dealt with racism in Boston, but they taught me how to deal with that. And I've had, I mean, we'd be here all day if I had the number of experiences in academia that I faced, because I worked in academia, the number of situations as an attorney, as a trial attorney that I've had in court. But they prepared me for it. They prepared me for it. They talked to me about it. And, you know, obviously because we didn't have social media and phone cameras or anything like that, that those pictures there weren't pictures that I had to learn from. They told me what their experiences were and helped me prepare for it. Our children are seeing a lot of pictures. The pictures don't necessarily translate into then what is the solution for them? How do they handle it? Not only emotionally, but then how do they plan their career, understanding that these are some of the barriers that they're going to face. We talk about having, and I've had the conversation with my sons, I have 2 sons, about what happens when you go out and drive Black, but what happens when you go out and thrive Black? The t-shirt, right? You know, what happens when you're in school and going for the interview, and what are the issues that you have to face? I remember applying for a job at a law firm when I was graduating from Georgetown, and I walked in. We used to have the interviews in hotel rooms, and they had the room up to like 90 degrees. 90 degrees. And I'm, you know, suited down, briefcase, you know, one of the first interviews I had. And the 2 Caucasian gentlemen are sitting there with their feet up on the coffee table for the interview. I walked in, I sat there. I said, you know what? I said, you don't want me. You don't want me to work for you. And I'm not going to sit in here and be hot and uncomfortable. Thank you for the opportunity. And I walked out. I would never have had that courage had my parents not explained to me what's going on and how to handle it.
Right. You know, I was just talking about my wife about a similar, similar topic, that in corporate America, you know, it seems like you have to give up your dignity and self-respect for economic advancement. You don't have to. And that's one reason why I never fit in any corporate environment. I'm not going to pretend that I'm not smart. I didn't go to school to pretend that that I'm not educated and I'm not intelligent. For one, when I started, my company, I realized that I couldn't make it and make the amount of money that I was worth working for someone else. I felt like I never was going to do that. And I started my own business. And so you hear in the media, we always hear that we need to buy black, shop black, and vote. But one thing that is missing also within our community is that we need to start our own businesses. We do have the network. We're building our network back. It is coming. So definitely buying black. But one way in which we can get equality or make more steps is actually to support each other. And one of the things I wanted to talk about is how to do that. Since when you compare Caucasian-owned business to Black-owned business, I mean, we probably make up maybe less than 1% of the market. 80% of the market actually goes to our Caucasian counterparts, and again, the revenue. And so one thing that we need to do, because we have some kind of, ways of doing business, like, hey, we're Black, so do business the Black way. And one thing I want to talk about was social media. That was, hey, Mr. Gatewood, good to see you there. So
hey.
Welcome back.
One reason, I wanted to talk about this is because I work with a lot of small businesses that are Black owned, and we're doing things how best we know how to do them. But what we need to do is focus where all the viewers, where people are looking to spend money, they are online. They are on Facebook, they are on Instagram, but they're not spending money on Facebook and spending money on Instagram. Google and being visible on Google is one way in which we've taken a business and we said, all right, you have to have another location. You have to have 2, 3 more because the visibility is there. the revenue's there, the clientele is there, and for us to grow economically and also continue to win the fight on equality or make those steps, we have to be a stronger economic power as a cultural group. And as we have more economic power, some other things line up in place.
That's right. I
Hey,
totally
guys.
agree with you. Hi, how are you?
Let
Welcome
me
back.
hop in here for a minute. First
Yes.
of all, I want to thank Bryon for jumping in here and winging it. I found out that the technical issue was actually on my end, my equipment over here. One of my computer that we've run the show on for the last few months has somehow just went dead. And so we had to work those issues out. And we had Bryon waiting in the wings. And so I was communicating with him by phone. I said, Bryon, please jump in. I said, I have a dynamic guest over there, Dr. Sharon Anderson. He didn't realize you had already done a segment, but I'm glad to hear it repeated again because you covered some new groundwork. And so that was great. And so I'm just going to let you guys continue. And I like to really jump in for time's sake. I like to get the Dr. Anderson, please feel free to stick around to talk about, we want to hear Bryon talk about the SEO. And I did promise the audience that I was going to ask them, I was going to tell them the 5 reasons advertising doesn't work. I'm just going to throw this in here. Then I'm going to get to you, Bryon. And I want to hear more about the SEO. And you guys feel free to chime in on this particular topic. Now, I was talking earlier about how we have a predominantly business owner audience. These are entrepreneurs, people that run businesses, and many of them are engaging in advertising. They're spending money. Some have gotten big checks from the EIDL and the PPP, and they're wondering how to spend this money. Well, what I do, I use pretty much marketing code. In other words, these are foundational things that can apply to any type of advertising, regardless of the type of advertising you're doing. So, and I did a video on Amazon a few years ago called Why Most Advertising Doesn't Work. It's still out there, by the way. And it was one of my core courses that I used to do at the college. And the number one reason that advertising doesn't work is because many people don't understand what work means. They don't understand what it means for the advertising to work. Right. So they don't have clear goals when they first set out. What is the objective of this advertising campaign? Is it to get customers? Is it to get viewers? Or whatever the other key performance indicators that you're shooting for. If you don't have that in mind when you start, you won't know if the advertising worked or not. That's because right. You didn't set the metrics. You didn't set the benchmark of what you were shooting for. And the other thing people sometimes fail to remember that advertising is not just for customer acquisition. Customer acquisition is just one goal of advertising. There's other things like branding. There's making it easy for the sales force. There's confirming imagery. There's upselling, retention, lifetime value, pricing, because when you're advertising, people are more familiar with you. You can actually charge a higher price. So just because the phone didn't ring the first time that ad ran does not mean your advertising didn't work. There are other metrics, we call them KPIs, that you need to evaluate when you're making decisions about whether something was effective or not. And I'm just going to go through these quickly. But number one reason is people are too general. They're too general in their advertising. They don't pick their audience. If you don't know who your audience is when you're going after, if you're trying to sell to everybody, your advertising is going to fail, plain and simple. You have to pinpoint who that audience is, whether it's demographics, whether it's geographics, whether it's lifestyle. You have to understand those demographics and geographic targeting. You have to understand those emotional reasons that people buy. We're talking about money. We're talking about consensus. We're talking about security. We're talking about scarcity. We're talking about physical needs. You have to push which one of those are the most predominant in that decision-making process. And a couple of others, understanding that there's industry life cycles. You use different strategies in the different cycles. The introduction stage, the growth stage, the maturity stage, and the decline, each one have their own advertising and marketing strategies. If you're advertising or taking an advertising strategy on a industry or product that's in the mature stage, it's going to be very different than something that's just in the introduction stage. They have totally different strategies, and many companies, they use across-the-board advertising strategies for all 4 cycles. That's a recipe for disaster. The other thing is when people call, who's on the phone to take that call? Do you have salespeople, customer service people who know how to handle that call? If not, once again, you're prone to fail. And last but not least, customer advertising success is about lifetime value. It's about retention. is that one sale going to get you referrals, repeat buys? If not, once again, you're using a metric that's prone to failure. You have to engage in good customer service once that person becomes a customer. Only then can you evaluate it over time and to determine whether that advertising success, that campaign was successful or not. Anyway, I just wanted to squeak that in here between the great conversation you guys were having. And what we're going to do, Bryon and Dr. Sharon, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Bryon, I want to get into this SEO and find out more about that. And Dr. Sharon, feel free to hang around and chime in. This is the Marketing Pulpit TV show. We're doing a special edition today. We're running an extra hour because we had some technical issues. Bryon did a great job of jumping in. I'm glad Dr. Sharon, I'm just glad we were able to have her to stick around so much because there was so much information in her that we want to take advantage of, and just glad to have you to stick around for a couple extra minutes, Dr. Sharon. So we're going to take a quick break, guys. So hang on for a second. This is the Marketing Pulpit Radio and TV. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after the break. All right. That's one of our sponsors, the BLE Executive Suites. I'm going to put Bryon's information up here. So, Bryon, let's jump right in. Dr. Sharon, she stepped away for a second, and we'll put her back up when she comes back. Jump right in here and tell us about this SEO, and reintroduce yourself to the audience. Let people know what it is that you do and what brought you to this point today. And then we're going to jump right in and find some more about SEO, search engine optimization, please.
Sure. So I am the owner of Next Generation Payroll, which is a payroll company, competes with ADP, Paychex, Paycom in the payroll space. What we do is we provide SEO services. We do provide payroll, HR services as well. And also we do some risk management. So our goal is to make sure that businesses don't move backwards, but you move forward. You have very strong operations and you're able to grow quickly and compete with corporations, but then also in-house, you have an ecosystem that works efficiently and effectively. And with that, we are helping businesses to be more successful.
That's great. That's great. And first of all, tell people, what is SEO? What is search engine optimization?
So search engine optimization is a term that's used to understand how Google or Yahoo or Bing, also even YouTube, decides to place information. What are the ranking factors in the criteria that allow someone to be listed on the first page of Google versus the 6th or the 5th page? How does someone get the recognition? So what we do know from Google is there's 200 plus factors that essentially determine where you rank. We don't know the whole number. It could be 300, 400 terms, but again, SEO is just a measure of how you can become visible to businesses.
Now we hear all this talk about everybody trying to get on Facebook. Everybody wants to get an Instagram page. Everybody wants to be on Snapchat, TikTok, and all these other places. Are they overlooking one of the most powerful tools out there? How does SEO rank if you want to do a evaluation between social media and SEO?
Okay, so the people that say, oh, I'm gonna get on Facebook and I'm gonna blow up and I'm gonna go on Instagram and get a lot of followers and I'm gonna tweet and I'm gonna have Snapchat, I'm gonna use TikTok. All the businesses, especially Black-owned businesses, they don't make a lot of money. They do not make very much money. If the primary method of how you're going to grow your business is a social media channel, you're just not going to make the money. In comparison to Google, let's just say per month, Google will have 70 billion people in the US do some kind of search or multiple searches in the US. Okay. Instagram, Facebook, they'll have 1 or 2 billion. So you're severely limiting the number of people you have access to. Again, social media platforms, people go to those, number one, to kill time, number two, to be entertained.
Social.
Buying something isn't high on the list. They may be interested. So you are advertising to people that may be interested. They may be broke also, right?
That's right.
And a lot of times they're not actually looking to make a transaction. And if they do visit your website from a social media platform, the most they're going to stay on your website is 30 seconds on average.
Let me
right?
get Dr. Anderson in here. Dr. Anderson, now you do a lot of consulting and you got people out here spending all this money. I mean, what's your take on the value of these advertising tools?
I mean, I 100% agree. 100% agree that social media is exactly what it says, right? Social. So people are going on really to socialize. They're going on to see what's going on, who's doing what. They're not necessarily going to look for a business, look for even a restaurant, right? They might see something that looks good, but then they're going to go, as Bryon said, to a website, and ultimately they probably will go to the Google search as opposed to getting everything that they need from the social media website. So I 100% agree that if you're looking to grow your business, it is not through a social media platform. Absolutely not.
Now, I know that there are certain tools, and we go back to advertising and making sure advertising works. If you don't understand your audience, now many people jump on social media, and I'm one of them that use social media, and I've had some success with it. But I also understand the awesome power of SEO and the ability to drive Google traffic. I mean, how can you ignore something as big as Google? I mean, that's what I ask people when they kind of turning a deaf ear to SEO. Google, they have a total ecosystem. They have YouTube, they have Google, they have Gmail. So when you're saying that, that's exactly right.
And they drive you to your social media. So why not invest in the Google? Because if someone Googles you, it'll be your business, and then your Facebook page, and then your Instagram, and as opposed to the flip, hoping that you'll get from social media to Google. You'd rather go from Google, and if somebody wants to see social media pictures, they can go there. But the information, the content, the business, the money is on Google.
And that's what I was going to ask Bryon next. I noticed that when you click in, when you do a search on Google, you come to the social media pages. Am I correct?
That's correct. You can.
So you don't have to. It's not an either or. If you have a social media page out here, a Facebook page, because I noticed that many young people they're using their Facebook page instead of a traditional web page. So they're saying, look, I'm going to ignore SEO and just push my Facebook page, not realizing that Google can actually drive traffic to that page.
That was the point I was just making. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. So here's the thing. And I preach this with everyone. You build up what you own. You do not own anything on Facebook. You do not own anything on Instagram. Build up what you own, because it can be taken away from you, right? And you don't want to give your credit away to someone else, right? So if you have 1,000, 10,000 followers on Facebook, great, that's good because you've amassed that many people. But if you have 10,000 followers on your website, you are dominating completely dominating your industry for whatever particular business you have. If you're in the restaurant business, if you have a daycare, if you have a doctor's office, if you are selling products, if you have a warehouse, people are finding you, and there's a massive amount more people on looking at websites than they are social media platforms. It's a night and day difference. So again, I would never drive. If I made a post, I'm going to get that post. It's going to have a URL to Next Generation Payroll. They can click it and go to my website. That's what social media platforms are for. They are to drive you away from social media to your website. And I'll give you an example. I have a daycare client here in the Metroplex. And I said, yep, you need a website. They were on social media and they said, well, I said, where are you at in your business? They said, we're at 50% capacity. I said, all right, here's the first goal. We're going to get you to 100% capacity. And my son went to this daycare too. And I said, after this, we're going to kick out all the kids nobody likes. We're going to kick out all those children. So first goal was the bad ones. The bad ones had to go, and they did go. We got that business. They got a website. We did some SEO. They're the #1 daycare in Arlington, Texas. You cannot search daycare, any phrase, daycare, childcare provider, toddler care, infant care, doesn't matter. They're always going to be visible. So within a short period of time,
I have a daycare client in Arlington. I'm sorry.
So no problem. That's awesome. I'll have to meet your client. So they got to 100% capacity. We removed some of the kids that weren't so great, and then we went up on price.
That's great.
And then after that, we got a wait list. So this wait list is so long that within, if he decided to open up another daycare, maybe down the street or a few miles away, that daycare will be 100% capacity within 30 days.
Fantastic.
Just onboarding people from the wait list. So not only you can have multiple facilities within one city, you can branch out to more cities. The revenue is just massively different. And the thing is, once you are visible, people will always come back to you month after month after month. Once you arrive, that business never goes away.
Well, awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank again my special guest, Dr. Sharon Anderson Powers, Mr. Bryon Jennings. What I'd like to do is give, and I also want to thank the audience for hanging in here today. This has been one of our most challenging technological days, I must say, but it gave us an opportunity to extend the show and to bring in amazing guests, to give them a little more time that they deserve. And it also gave me a chance to test out some of these contingency plans when these things happen in the future, that the show can go on. Right now, I'm broadcasting from my iPhone. Before I was broadcasting from my laptop, and I have my desktop on the left, my laptop in the right, and my iPhone in the middle. So these are things that we're going to be working on in the future to make sure when we have a lapse, that we can keep the show going without these types of interruptions. Let's, Dr. Anderson, please give us any parting words and your contact information again, and how people can reach you.
Sure. Yes, I think it's going across the screen, but my URL is, I did not put it on my Facebook. It was www.drsharonempowers.com. I thank you so much for having me. This was great, and our theme for our church is the season of divine connections, and I believe it was a divine connection today that we all were about to meet, and especially meeting Bryon was great because it's certainly where my business is going, and I have some clients I'd love to introduce you to, because that's a conversation that I've been having. And so the last parting word would be, if you're a small business owner, it's two things if I can, make an investment. You have to make an investment in your business. I am a small business owner, and as I said, started blowing up over the pandemic. I hired an EA and a social media strategist because, and I say social media, but a media strategist, to deal with exactly what Bryon is talking about. Not only my social media work, but getting a website so that I can generate the clientele that I need. I don't feel like it's there yet. I originally just had a website, But it wasn't doing anything that you said, Mr. Greenwood, in meeting, the 5 strategies. Who's my clientele? It was just some pictures. And so I had to pivot. So I hired a media specialist and a publicist who connected me with you, Mr. Greenwood, Ebony McMorris, so that I could be on the right shows to have the right discussions. And then, as Bryon said, make sure that my web presence was doing what it needed to do. Not just pictures, but certainly a business web presence. So I wholeheartedly agree. So invest in your business. Secondly, during this COVID, have a plan. In your plan would be what Bryon's talking about, in making sure that you have that web presence, because that is what's going to sustain you. That's one of the things that's going to help sustain you. So make sure that you have a plan. Don't go in unprepared.
Thank you very much. And we were honored to have you today. And I'll send a special thank you to Ebony for introducing me to you and the show. And we'd like to have you back in the future. So thank you again. And Bryon, once again, any parting words? And once again, how can the best way people can reach you? And by the way, folks, we met, Bryon and I, we met on this directory called the Black Directory. .com, and you can go to marketingpulpit.com. There's a link on the homepage on how you can find out more about this organization. They have a large contingency of Black companies across the country, and we're a proof positive that it works. It puts people together. And so Bryon Morse, the president and owner, just a head out to him for what he's doing and empowering the Black businesses in our community. Bryon, once again, tell us how they can reach you and any parting thoughts.
Sure. So I can be reached at ngpayroll.com, or look up Next Generation Payroll. Will come up, or you look up a Black-owned payroll company. We will come up that way. And really, one of the keys to our businesses and our community being empowered economically is actually being visible. So the more that we are visible online, the more dollars that we can get. Does not matter, again, what industry you're in. People are searching for you and what you can provide. There are tens of thousands of people per month that are searching for your services. So make sure you get your name out there so that people can contact you. Make sure that the Black business, the Black community, gets a percentage of these thousands of people that are out there looking to spend money.
Amen. Amen. Thanks again, ladies and gentlemen. You've been listening to the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'd like to thank my special guests, Dr. Anderson and Bryon Jennings. Great information. I'd like to have both of you guys back. And my company is Gatewood Marketing and Web. We're a full-service advertising agency. Go to gatewoodmarketing.com. You can find out more about us. Also, we're going to Marketing Pulpit. We'll be back next week at the same time, 10:30 here in Eastern Standard Time. Bryon, you're in a different time zone. Yes. Man, those are little things you have to work out. You're assuming. That's sometimes we live in this bubble. We look at everything through our own lenses, and it never even occurred to me to ask him was he in a different time zone. So, but I'm glad it all worked out.
Right? It all worked out.
That technology glitch actually worked in our favor, because if it had not, then we'd have been gone by the time Bryon got here. So thanks again.
Right. Yes.
And as I say always, you can also find this show on the marketingpulpit.com after the show and all the other past shows. Go to marketingpulpit.com. And as always, when I tune out on my shows, I would say, if you want to be successful, you have to do these 3 things. Do the right thing, do it at the right time, and you got to do it right. Enough talk. Let's get to work.
Thank you.
If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war.